Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA. I'm Nick, and today we are diving into part 3 of 7 Secrets to Prosperity.
Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set. Hello, KISMA.
Hello there. What's going on?
Well, what's going on is we're back at the podcast.
We are back, and this is episode 3 in our start series of prosperity, which is really cool. And we've got so many cool things to bring to you over the coming months, but I love talking about prosperity.
I know you do.
You know, just to kind of reiterate, we talked on the first episode of the series what prosperity is, which is, yes, it's wealth, it's money, but it's health, it's energy, it's love, it's spirituality. I feel like being the complete person and vibrating at the essence of a complete person, really having this essence, this frequency that is certain and confident and attracts that back.
I love the way you put that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, I come back to this idea of prosperity is just a flow in your life. And I think about a river, like when a river gets it's got a bunch of stuff gets built up in it. And then it's just like the water can't flow. And when the water can't flow, it's really stagnant.
Right.
And energetically, I think this happens a lot, particularly around money, but certainly around other areas. It happens around love. It happens in, through relationships. It happens in your health, and in your physical body, where this prosperous energy doesn't flow in the proper way. And it makes problems.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's problems.
Yeah.
So these 7 secrets are really about getting unstuck, right? And getting the places moving and getting the energy moving in a certain way.
Absolutely. And by divine right, by the right that you were born, that you're on the planet, that you are one and the same of the universal energy, you have a right to be prosperous. So it's peeling back the layers and looking at what's in the way.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we're going to start with today is like, be open to receive, be open to receive. And so, obviously if we're not receiving something that we desire, if some of you have been manifesting or wanting something and it's not coming, what we actually have to look at is, what are the beliefs that are making you resist it? And it's super easy to blame the world.
Yeah.
It's super easy to make other people wrong. But the fact is, and this is really, really important, whenever you take accountability and responsibility for whatever role you're playing in the situation, that's where your shift comes. That's where your power comes. When you take that accountability and responsibility, when you ask the questions like, why am I attracting this? What did I do to create this? What am I resisting? We have got to have that, courageous vulnerability.
Back to the very beginning.
Yeah, to really look at what are we doing? That's where the shift is, everyone. That's where the real prosperity is, because internally we have answers to every question, solutions to every problem. We have the cause to every effect. But when we're busy blaming the world, the government, people, our bosses, or whatever, we might as well take all the power we have and throw it at them. We might as well take all the energy we have and throw it at them, and all the money we have and throw it at them.
Oh, it's really interesting. I think that you're tying these two together between the true empowerment of just taking responsibility for your thoughts and your actions, and your emotions. Right. And being open to receive.
Yes.
Right. It's really, can you explain a little bit how that opens up this conduit to receive?
Well, if you're not open to it, you're blocking it. Basically, if you're not open to understanding where money comes from, which we'll talk about in a second, if you're not open to looking at yourself, you're just continuing to put gunk out in the world and congest your own thoughts and focus on everything that is wrong instead of what you have.
Okay. Now, one of the most common things that I hear around this, in particular, is this idea of feeling worthy. or deserving something.
Right.
Right. And I know for sure that closes that channel off, and it makes it really, really difficult. I remember listening to a speaker one time talk about this. I thought he put it really well, actually. And he's like, write down, the quality of your life on a scale of 1 to 10. Like, what is the quality of your life? And after everybody wrote down their numbers and all this stuff, he's like, that is, you'll have exactly what you feel worthy of. So if you're at a 7, your worthiness is at a 7 as well. I thought that was a really interesting way to tie it in. I'm wondering, in particular though, I'm wondering your thoughts on that. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit, maybe just a little bit more succinctly about this worthiness, deservedness kind of thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those lower vibe emotions that really, it's like a fever. It's like a disease in a person. I hear it a lot, or I just call it not enoughness. When people feel not enoughness, not worthy, undeserving, they're creating a belief, a paradigm, and it's really a tricky one to break out of. And so oftentimes, we make a change when we really understand what's going on. And so I think it's important to understand when we carry this feeling of unworthiness or undeservedness, very likely it percolated possibly at a young age. Maybe it's from our family, not making family wrong, but maybe we heard one of our parents say, there's never enough, it doesn't work for us, or somewhere maybe something traumatic happened and it really lowered our self-esteem. And so rather than address it and look at it and break out of this box, it feels more safe to stay small. It feels more safe to stay in a belief syndrome that even though you don't like it, it doesn't feel good, you know what it is. So again, it's about that. What do we really want? If we know that these feelings we've conjured up, they've layered up over this lifetime and other lifetimes. And when we're willing to look internally and really shed light on our own accountability, our own responsibility, then we know we can change things. And that's really the beauty of looking at where we caused something and shifting these thoughts that we put out into the world, that we put out into this universal substance, so that we can create and have a different paradigm and a different reality.
One of the places that I've seen this show up, particularly for women, not exclusively by any stretch, but particularly for women and mothers, is like everything goes towards the kids and caring for the kids and whatever. And it's like, no, me later. It's like a shade of this, not receiving. It's like a redirecting or deflecting, whatever prosperity that is, or whatever energy that is into something else and not to themselves. And then they wind up feeling really depleted and confused.
Yeah, on one hand, this can be a really beautiful, generous energy when we're taking care of our kids, our family, when we're generous towards friends, etc. Where this can go when one doesn't have a pulse on it, when it's not clean, when it's not clear, is into a bit of martyrdom. Like, I'm going to give and I'm going to do for everybody else. And that's depletion. That's a sense of like, there's not enough for me. I'm just going to keep giving. And it's not healthy. It's not going to create this abundant field that we're seeking.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think when I look at it, even beyond the scope of parenting, just in any relationship, it's like when you're consistently depriving yourself of something, right? And maybe it's just care that you need, or time for yourself, or money to do some of the things that you want to do that make you happy. It's like that there is that depletion. And when you're in a depleted state, you're not bringing the best of yourself into that relationship, whether it's a parenting relationship or an intimate relationship or a work relationship, whatever it is, you're depleting yourself and really and truly not open to receive what it is that you need to really fuel you so that you can be awesome and bring that awesomeness into whatever situation that is. And really and truly, when we get into the spiritual teachings behind this, like you being awesome and amazing and the really best version of you, like that's your number one job.
It really is the number one reason we're here. Absolutely. There's another thing too for all of our listeners who, and you all do actually have gifts and talents and skills to share. And part of you goes into that, oh, who am I to do this? Or I'm not deserving of building a business, or I'm not worthy to get on Facebook or to be in a crowd or to go to talk or do whatever. We really need to pivot that and look at the very gifts that you have to share and to understand that you do have a responsibility to get those out there. And so when you play small and when you step into the, undeservedness, not enoughness, you are not sharing, whether it's teachings or products or just yourself, with people on the planet that are really ready to be around you, work with you, and will benefit from what you have to offer and share. And by playing small, by being in that undeservedness, it's exuding the same to other people. And we're all here to basically lift ourselves up. So when we're the highest version of us, we kind of trickle that into the people around us, whether it's our family, our friends, our colleagues, our community. So the more that you can step into this newfound, wait a minute, I am actually worthy by divine right, organically, I'm so worthy. When you step into that, however uncomfortable it is, you're sharing that with all the people around you. And that's, I feel, really important to grasp and drop this belief in these stories that you don't deserve. And sometimes it takes deeper work. I mean, that's why people come to us and work through things. And, you can definitely reach out if you want to go to deeper levels. Yet the most important place to start is to understand that as a human being, I think we all have a responsibility to show up and really shine the best that we can and get over these beliefs that are holding us back.
Yeah, the playing small. I love how you keep tying it back to that playing small is playing small. And I really feel, obviously I really agree with that. It's like, it's one of the most important and also one of the most profound things that you can ever do is just be awesome. Like be awesome at sharing your gifts. And it's so funny that it's like, we'll see this a lot in the entrepreneurial world, where it's like the thing that comes most easy to you, right? That's your gift. Like that's the most amazing thing. That's the first thing that people will devalue. That's just so easy for me. I'd do that for free.
Yeah, well,
right. Exactly.
Well, look at that, because people really, really need that and want that.
Right. And it's a place where people shut down a flow. And if we're going to, just look at it in the context of money, prosperity, and like cash in the door, that's your side hustle. If you've got a regular gig, like that's the real value of the thing that you bring to serve your people. Right. It's this doorway into creating and allowing prosperity in your life, but you have to be open to receive it.
Absolutely. Right. And it's the same thing with love. It's the same thing with health. I mean, think about it this way. If you're not open to receiving good health, then you'll do things to your body. We'll eat things that aren't good. We'll overdrink, or we'll be in excess rather than moderation and eating well and exercising. Then we're open to receiving health. And if we're not open to receiving love, we'll make the people around us wrong, or we'll blame them, or we'll blame ourselves. It gets really sticky, everyone. And it's just no fun to live that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the part that you talked about before with the taking responsibility for your choices and your actions, like taking full responsibility. And, truthfully, the answer to that is not always the one that we want. Like if you want to feel really consistent in your energy and feel you got to get to bed you got to get to bed on time and try to keep that consistent and wake up and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. But it's so easy to slip out of that. And then it's like, oh, well, the truth of the matter is that you're not prioritizing that.
Right.
And it's shutting down the flow of prosperity in that area, whether it's health or just physical energy and vitality, or whether it's money.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I love it. And so one of the ways to get out of that undeservedness or lack energy or unworthiness is to understand where money comes from. Money comes from where everything comes from. Everything comes from one place. Everything comes from one place. It comes from source. It comes from God. I like to use the word universe. Some people say energy, supreme one. I don't think our human brains can wrap around what we're actually talking about. So I kind of stick with universe. Everything comes from universe. So people get confused and think money's coming from people and it's coming from the government and it's coming from whatever. It's coming from the universe through people.
That's such an important part, because the truth is that any money that you ever have has come from somebody else. Somebody gave you that.
Somebody did, a bank, a thing, a whatever.
But it came through them. Through them. That's the part that's really, I need you to like cosmic out on this one a little bit. Like just geek out and do your KISMA thing, I think, to really get the full kind of scope of it.
Well, it's like to go cosmic. Everything is in this universal intelligence space, and we have access to it all. We have access to everything that is in the universal intelligence space, including a greater supply of money and love and all things. The problem is not the amount, the supply. The problem is we don't demand enough of it. We don't demand enough of the universe. We don't demand enough of ourselves. And so we limit what we receive. But when we understand everything really does come from this substance that's all around us, and it sounds like, what do you mean there's a substance? Well, think about it. The more you think, the more you put this thought flow, the more you say, the more you do into this universe, undifferentiated consciousness, Brahman, whatever you're going to call it, it starts to take form. It's a response. It's cause and effect. So you know it by going back in your life and looking at any time that maybe you were so focused on the negative and you kept creating more negative. Or those times where you're like breathing and in flow and you were like just in the know that something was going to work out, and guess what it did? So we're looking to get more in the know. And the way you get into the know is to first recognize that everything comes from one source. If we don't recognize that, we're not with it. So we've got to start by recognizing, as much as our feeble brain can get there, when we recognize there is this universe, there is this substance, and it's hearing us, it's responding to us, and everything is coming from this, then we can go, all right, I'm playing a different game here now. And then we give attention to it, and there's interest, and we expect, and we take inspired action, and we bring all that we desire into our lives.
Cosmic KISMA right there. I'm letting that kind of soak in for a moment.
I don't know how else to put it. It's so big, but why can't, I want to share this quote I heard from a speaker. I was at a charity function, just like my girl, I think it's called The League. And we were at this author's house, Allison Maslin, and she has a new book out. And she talked about how she met Richard Branson. And I just love when people ask great questions. And she said, Sir Richard, I thought I was a big thinker. You're like on a different cosmos, which I thought was very funny. And then she asked him the best question I've heard in so long. She goes, where does your mind need to go in order to think that big? I was like, man, that's brilliant.
Wow.
And his answer was, we only have so many days on this planet. So if we're going to do something, why don't we go straight to the top? So the same thing with everyday life. We only have so many days on this planet. So if we're going to create, why don't we go straight to source to create? Because why would we do it any other way? We're just going to keep spinning around and coming back until we figure it out.
Right.
So why not go straight to the top? And when I say this, I'm going to also interject. I'm not talking about magical thinking and sitting on the beach and just saying, oh yeah, I'm going to manifest. It's going to come at the right time. Man, we got to be in action. We have to be clear. We have to be clean. We have to like drop the stories of I'm not deserving. We need to stop criticizing other people like we talked about in the first episode of this series. We need to be our highest and best, and we need to demand more of ourselves.
Now, that's a really interesting way of putting it, the demanding more of yourself. And I think sometimes that can really be taken as like push yourself harder and harder. Can you differentiate there?
Well, let's start with, if we're going to demand more of ourselves, we might start with recognizing that there is this supreme universal substance that we put our energy into in response to us. So if that is a truth, and it is, then we might want to clean up our thoughts. Let's just start there. Clean up your thought flow. That's not pushing yourself. That's actually having more self-care and creating more space and dropping in and having more gratitude and perhaps even getting a massage every now and then. That's not a push. That's a be. So demanding more of yourself is demanding the way you are being rather than the way you're pushing or forcing, because that really never goes very well.
Yeah. There's a big piece there. I think that it was especially was covered in the first two parts of this series is the cleaning out.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a cleaning out.
Right.
It's like any spiritual practice. It's not about adding more in. It's about taking out the things that take you away from that so that you can be your natural, vibrant, amazing, cosmic self.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's like you can't put clean oil into a car without removing the old oil.
Yeah.
We've got to clean it out. So the demand of self is to be a higher and greater version of you, to face forward and to have that trust. It's like, I use that hashtag, it's possible, and to really have the it's possible energy. To just know that if you really want to acquire something, if you really want to create something, you can do it. Yes, you're going to have to take action. Yeah, you might. I believe that sometimes we do have to work hard. Like people say you don't have to work hard. Like sometimes you don't. There's so many channels and avenues of abundance to come in. But sometimes like the project that you were working on this summer, Nick, like you put in hours.
I did. It was actually really energizing, which was a different kind of a different vibe for me, which is like, it's fun to talk about this because I'm kind of deconstructing that. That was a really different thing for me to dive into a project like that and to actually gain energy throughout it.
Yeah. Well, I really think it's because you were demanding more of self.
Yeah, I was.
So think about it, how for each of our listeners, like if you started to ponder that everything came from one thing and you have access to it all. If you just think that like you have access to everything, there's just probably a bunch of stuff that needs to get out of the way, which is usually what we're sending out into the world in our own minds in a negative way. If we just pivot that, we're good. We are so much better. And, a couple of the ways to pivot, and when we were looking at what's a couple tools, what can you do? Again, back to the journaling. If there's this really crunchy fear, belief, worry, write it down once. And then write the opposite. So say, I never have enough money. You're going to write, I'm an energetic match for abundance, right? My relationships never work out. Just write that once and then write, I'm an energetic match for a loving relationship, and write that one like 10 times. Right? So get the gunky stuff out. And then I love writing, I'm an energetic match for, I'm an energetic match for. Then the other piece is to really harness in this understanding that every moment we're creating, every single moment we are in cause and effect. And I often give my students a prosperity command. We'll share one in a second with you. Or I just guide them into thinking something, because even if it's a simple prosperity command or a mantra, I'm like, if you're not thinking that, what are you thinking? If you're not putting this in your mind, what are you putting in your mind? So let's fill the mind, the thought flow, with something that is of divine truth and source, so that your whole essence expands and your receptivity as well opens up.
Yeah. And I like the simplicity of it. It's true that when you clean a lot of things out, you have more space. That space will get filled with something. And so putting in something that really is useful, but also simple.
Right.
Like simple is like so important here. Like I've heard so many times these things get so complicated.
Yeah.
And simplicity is key because, your brain needs to be able to understand that and just really be able to take it and let it sink in.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So what's this one? This is one of my favorites.
Yeah. This one, I read it in a book by Catherine Ponder. We mentioned her quite a bit. She's
like your spirit guide.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she's still alive, living in the desert. And I get to pen pal with her every now and then. And she has a book called The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. We'll put that in the program notes. But this is a great prosperity command, which is everything and everyone prospers me now, and I prosper everything and everyone.
Yeah.
It's just like, it covers the law of reciprocity. It's just like totally do it when you're driving, when you're in the shower, when you're walking. Everything and everyone prospers me now, and I prosper everything and everyone. Fill yourself up with that.
That's some good juju right there.
It's some good juju. There won't be time for worry and anxiety, and there's not enoughness. Everything and everyone prospers me now, and I prosper everything and everyone.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and I would say you mentioned it before. I think it's worth saying again that some of these things can get kind of sticky, right? If you need a little help, you found the right place.
Yes,
so
totally.
That's a hello@illuminationpodcast.com. And sometimes it's not even because the tools that you have aren't good enough or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. Sometimes it's just having a really objective person on the other end to walk you through some of the steps to really resolve those things. I can't tell you how many times, I've sat down with people and they're like, I thought I've dealt with that. And then they're like, then there it is.
It's another wave. Yeah. Email. We've got some breakthrough sessions that we do. We have trainings and courses. Nick runs Energy Mastery. There's so many deep tools, high-level tools to help you go further in your prosperity.
Yeah. And it's something that we really love to do. It's a really important conversation.
But for here and now, everyone, everything and everyone prospers me now, and I prosper everything and everyone. And remember that you are amazing, of the same essence of the universe, of the same substance of the universe, that you have access to it all. Just get out of your own way and begin to receive.
I just love it when you go cosmic. Thanks everybody for listening. Right.
Signing off, Cosmic KISMA.
Namaste.
Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.